It was a cold Friday night, and I was stuck closing the pizza shop alone. Normally my coworker Josh would stay until the last delivery was done, but it had been a slow night, so he left early. That meant I was on my own, counting the register, locking the doors and taking out the trash. The shop was in a small strip mall outside Denver, mostly empty this late at night. The only places still open were a 24-hour laundromat and a bar at the far end. As I stepped outside with the last bag of trash, I noticed a car parked a few spaces away, a dark sedan with tinted windows. It hadn't been there earlier. I tossed the trash in the dumpster and turned back toward the shop. That's when I saw him. A man stood near the sedan just outside the glow of the streetlight. He was tall, wearing a heavy jacket, a cap pulled low. He wasn't moving, just watching. I hesitated but forced myself to walk normally back inside. As I locked the door behind me, I risked another glance. He was still there, and now he was closer. I tried to brush it off. Maybe he was waiting for someone. Maybe he was just drunk. But as I cleaned up the shop, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. 15 minutes passed, then 20. He still hadn't moved. I turned off the neon open sign, hoping he'd take the hint, but when I looked again, he had moved even closer, now standing directly in front of my car. My stomach tightened. I wasn't about to walk out, there alone. I grabbed my phone and called my manager, Tom. "Hey Tom, there's a guy outside. He's been watching the shop for like 20 minutes. I don't feel good about it." Tom groaned. "You want me to come by?" "Yeah," I said, "just in case." I stayed inside, pretending to mop while watching him through the reflection in the glass. He still wasn't moving, just standing. Then my phone buzzed. No caller ID. I froze. A sharp knock at the glass made me jump. I turned. The man was right there, smiling. I took a step back. "We're closed, man," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. He didn't move. Didn't respond, just reached into his pocket. For a split second, I thought he was pulling a weapon. My breath caught. My mind raced, but instead he pressed something against the glass, a pizza receipt. My stomach dropped. It wasn't just any receipt, it was from our shop. And the handwriting? Mine. "You forgot this," he muttered. My blood ran cold. That meant he had been in our dumpster. I reached for my phone, my hands shaking. Then headlights swept across the parking lot. Tom's truck screeched into a spot. He jumped out, slamming the door. "Hey, what the hell's going on?" The man lowered the receipt. Then without a word, he turned, walked calmly to his car and drove off. No panic, no rush. Like he had done exactly what he came to do. After Tom made sure I got to my car safely, I drove home, my mind racing. Who was that man? Why had he been watching me? The next morning, I got to the shop early and checked the security cameras. My stomach tightened as I scrolled through the footage. He had been there longer than I thought. The recording showed him pulling into the lot nearly an hour before I noticed him. He never went into the shop, never bought anything. Just sat in his car, headlights off, watching. At one point, he got out, walked around the building, then disappeared behind the dumpster, where I later threw out the trash. That's when he must have grabbed the receipt. He had been watching me. I showed Tom the footage. He frowned. Maybe just some weirdo looking for scraps? But we both knew it was more than that. This guy had been waiting for something. I tried to move on, but the feeling never left. For weeks after, I kept looking over my shoulder. Every time I walked to my car at night, my pulse quickened. Then one night it happened again. I was locking up, making sure to check every window when my phone buzzed. No caller ID. I didn't answer. Instead, I peeked outside. The parking lot was empty, except for a dark sedan parked far enough away that I couldn't see inside. I swallowed hard and backed away from the door. I called Tom, but by the time he arrived, the car was gone. That was the last time I ever worked a closing shift alone. I never saw the man again, but I knew he saw me. When I met Ryan, he was kind, thoughtful, the kind of man who held doors open and texted good morning before I even woke up. After my divorce, I wasn't looking for love, but he made me feel safe again. At first, his protectiveness was sweet. "Text me when you get home," he'd say. "I just want to know you're safe." But then it changed. If I didn't text back fast enough, he'd accuse me of ignoring him. If I went out with friends, he'd get jealous, telling me they were a bad influence. He didn't like how I dressed, how I talked to the cashier at the store, how I parented my 6-year-old daughter, Emily. Then came the rules. He needed to know where I was at all times, who I was with, what I was doing. The first time I tried to push back, he sulked for hours. The second time, he punched the wall right next to my head. By the time I realized how dangerous he was, it was too late. Ryan had moved in, and leaving wasn't an option anymore. It happened after dinner. Emily was coloring at the table, humming to herself. I was washing dishes when Ryan grabbed my phone off the counter. "Why didn't you tell me your mom called?" I looked at him, confused. "I was going to call her back later." His face darkened. "Oh, later?" The tension in the air shifted. Emily had gone silent. Ryan slammed the phone down hard enough to rattle the silverware. "Do you think I'm stupid?" he hissed. I shook my head quickly. "No, Ryan, His hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. Not hard, not quite, but firm. My chest tightened. "Ryan, please. You're scaring Emily." He turned to my daughter, his grip tightening, just enough to make me wince. "Go to your room." Emily bolted, her little feet pounding up the stairs. Ryan's face softened. He let go, brushing his fingers over the red marks on my wrist. "I love you, you know that?" he murmured. I swallowed, forced a nod. That night, I locked the bedroom door for the first time. Ryan controlled everything now. He kept all the cash and credit cards. He took my phone at night. He started driving me to and from work, saying it was easier that way. And when he lost his job, he stopped letting me go to work at all. Every morning, he locked the doors from the outside, keeping me and Emily trapped inside. "I'll know if you try to leave," he warned. "Don't make me regret trusting you." Emily barely spoke around him. Every little noise made her flinch. One night, I found her hiding in the closet, clutching her stuffed bunny. "Mommy," she whispered, "I want to go home." Tears burned my eyes. I hugged her close. "We are home, baby." She shook her head. "No, home with Grandma." I knew then. I had to get us out. But how? Ryan was always watching. That night, Ryan came home drunk. He didn't like the way I looked at him. I didn't like that Emily was too quiet. I didn't like anything. He grabbed my hair, yanking me close. "Maybe I should teach you a lesson." I braced for it. But then, his stomach growled. He laughed, shoving me away. "I'm starving. Order a pizza." My heart raced. He never let me use the phone, but now he was handing it to me. I opened the pizza app, forcing my fingers to stay steady. I typed, "In our order." Then in the delivery instructions I wrote, "Please call 911, hostage situation." I hit submit and set the phone down. Ryan didn't notice. He was already back on the couch, flipping through the channels. Now, all I could do was wait. The doorbell rang. Ryan glanced up. Finally. He stood stretching, then motioned toward me. "Go get it." My stomach knotted. I walked to the door, trying to keep my breathing steady. My fingers trembled as I unlocked it. Standing outside was a young delivery guy holding the pizza box. But behind him, 2 police officers. Ryan must have seen them at the same time I did. His grip tightened on my shoulder. He lunged for the door. The first officer's foot shot out, blocking it from closing. "Ma'am," the officer said, his voice calm but firm. "Are you okay?" Ryan yanked me backward, his hand clamping over my mouth. "Get the hell out of here!" The second officer pushed inside. Everything happened in seconds. Ryan let go of me, lunged at the officer, fists swinging. The officer barely flinched. He just grabbed him, flipped him, and pinned him to the ground. Emily screamed. More officers flooded the house. One of them knelt in front of me, his eyes kind. "You're safe now." I collapsed to my knees, sobbing as Emily ran into my arms. Ryan was screaming as they hauled him away, but we didn't hear him. All I heard was Emily's heartbeat against mine. We were safe. Ryan was charged with kidnapping, domestic violence, and child endangerment. The Pizza Hut worker had seen my message and called 911. That tiny act of kindness saved our lives. Emily and I moved in with my mom, miles away from Ryan. She still has nightmares, and I still flinch when I hear footsteps behind me, but we're free, and that's all that matters. I haven't been home in over a year. Work, life, and everything in between kept me away. But with a rare 3-day break, I finally had time. My parents lived across the state, a 6-hour drive I wanted to get over with as quickly as possible. By early afternoon, my stomach made the decision for me. A Pizza Hut sign appeared ahead, standing alone near an old gas station. One of those dine-in locations that had seen better days. The red roof was faded, the parking lot nearly empty. I debated getting my food to go, but decided to sit for a bit. The inside was just as quiet. A teenage cashier scrolled through his phone. A tired-looking waitress wiped a table near the window. An older man sipped coffee in the corner. I ordered a personal pepperoni pizza and a Coke. "Give us about 10 minutes," the cashier mumbled. I took a seat by the window. Outside, the highway stretched endlessly, dark clouds rolling in. Then a limousine pulled into the lot. At first, I didn't think much of it, but when the driver's door opened, a woman in a wedding dress stepped out, and she was walking straight toward the door. The woman walked in, her heels clicking against the tiled floor. Her wedding dress, once elegant, was dirty, the hem stained with mud. Her hair was tangled, her veil askew. But what struck me most was her expression. She looked lost. She scanned the room, then locked eyes with me. "Mind if I sit?" she asked. I hesitated but nodded. She slid into the booth across from me, smoothing down her dress as if she were at a formal dinner. Up close, I noticed smudge mascara streaking her cheeks, dried tears carving paths through her makeup. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I considered asking if she was okay, if she needed help, but something about her stopped me. She broke the silence. "Am I hideous?" The question caught me off guard. "No," I said, shaking my head. "Not at all." She smiled faintly, playing with a sugar packet. "Are you attracted to me?" I nearly choked on my drink. "James said he was," she murmured. But James was a liar. James, her fiancé. She reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Her lace gloves weren't white anymore. They were stained with blood. I tried to pull my hand away, but she tightened her grip. "Let's run away together, Tom." My stomach dropped. I hadn't told her my name. Before I could react, the waitress appeared, setting down my pizza. She gave the woman a long, measured look. "Well, don't you look lovely?" she said carefully. The bride smiled, her fingers still locked around mine. "Thank you. Tom and I were just talking." The waitress didn't react, just studied her. Then she turned to me. "Enjoy your meal," she said, her voice neutral. She walked away, but something in her body language told me she was watching. I inched toward the door. The bride stood abruptly. "You're leaving me too?" "No," I lied. "Just grabbing something from my car." She smiled again, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I'll walk with you." We stepped outside together. The air was thick with the smell of rain. As we passed the limo, I noticed something. The back door was slightly open. Inside, I saw a hand, pale, motionless. My breath caught. She saw me looking. "That was our best man," she said cheerfully. "Or what was left of him." My mind raced. I needed to leave. Now. I'm sure he deserved it," I muttered. The bride beamed. "He did." We reached my car. "I'll just grab my..." Before I could finish, I yanked the door open and jumped inside. I tried to slam it shut, but she grabbed it. "You're leaving me too," she whispered. My hands shook as I shoved the key toward the ignition. She punched me. My head snapped back against the seat. My keys flew from my grip, landing somewhere on the floor. "You're just like James," she seethed, climbing inside. Her hands wrapped around my throat, nails digging. I gasped, struggling, my vision darkening. Then, a gunshot rang out. She froze, then crumpled. I gasped for air, coughing and vision swimming. The waitress stood behind her, shotgun still raised. "Get inside," she said, her voice steady. I stumbled out of the car, legs shaking. Inside the restaurant, the cashier stood frozen, his face pale. "Lock the doors," the waitress ordered. Then she picked up the phone. "We need the cops," she said. "Now." The police arrived within minutes. The storm had finally broken, rain pounding against the pavement. They found James in the limo's trunk, dead. The best man, too. The bride, her name was Rachel Monroe, had been reported missing the night before. Her wedding was supposed to take place at a countryside venue 2 towns over. But at some point between the ceremony and the reception, something snapped. She disappeared with James and the best man. Hours later, she showed up here, wearing a blood-stained wedding dress. I sat in the booth, hands shaking, untouched pizza growing cold. The waitress sat across from me, arms crossed. "You okay?" she asked. I let out a shaky breath. "Yeah," she nodded, but I could tell she didn't believe me. "You should finish your food," she said after a beat. "It'll help." I looked down at the pizza, and suddenly, I wasn't hungry anymore. I hadn't planned to stop. The drive home was supposed to be easy, 3 hours on the highway, no detours. But by midnight, hunger gnawed at my stomach. The only place open was a rundown Pizza Hut just off the exit. Inside, it was nearly empty. A tired-looking cashier took my order without enthusiasm. The fluorescent lights flickered. It smelled like old grease and cleaning chemicals. I leaned against the counter, scrolling through my phone. That's when I noticed her. A woman sat alone in the corner booth, barefoot, wearing a pale dress that looked outdated. Her long, dark hair hung over her face. No food, no drink, just sitting there. Something about her unsettled me. I glanced at her reflection in the window, hoping for a different angle, but it was like she wasn't even breathing. When my order was ready, I grabbed the box and hurried outside, telling myself I was just tired. I locked my doors, started the engine, shook off the weird feeling. Just as I pulled onto the highway, I checked my rearview mirror. She was still sitting there, but now her head was up, and she was watching me leave. The road stretched out in front of me, dark and empty. I turned, up the music, took a deep breath, and reached for a slice of pizza. "It's just your imagination," I told myself. Then I saw her, walking along the shoulder of the highway, barefoot, wearing the same pale dress. My stomach twisted. I gripped the wheel, my mind racing. How? There were no houses around, no stalled cars. No way she could have left the restaurant before me. I sped up. As I passed her, she lifted her head and smiled. It wasn't a normal smile. It was too wide, too knowing. My breath hitched. I refused to look again, staring straight ahead, heart hammering. It's nothing. It has to be nothing. A few miles later, I glanced at the mirror again and nearly swerved off the road. She was in my back seat, sitting perfectly still, hands in her lap, still smiling. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. I just gripped the wheel, trying to breathe. The doors had been locked. The windows had been up. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers shaking as I hit speed dial. What's your emergency? There's someone in my car. The operator's voice was calm. Too calm. Sir, are you in danger? I swallowed, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. She wasn't here before. I don't know how. She got in. A pause, then in a lower voice. Sir, listen carefully. Do not look at her. My blood ran cold. What? You're not the first person to call about this. I felt the air shift behind me, like someone leaning forward. My throat tightened. Who is she? Another pause. We don't know. I wanted to scream. How do you not know? But I didn't dare move. I could feel her watching me, her presence thick in the air. Then softly, so softly I almost didn't hear it, she started humming. A slow, eerie tune. I clenched my teeth. She's humming, I whispered. The operator's voice stayed steady. You're almost to a gas station. Pull in, but don't look at her. The humming stopped. Something brushed the back of my seat. I pressed the gas harder. The gas station appeared ahead, its bright lights flickering. I pulled in fast, tires screeching. The parking lot was empty except for a lone truck. My breathing was shallow, my hands trembling. I forced myself to stare straight ahead. Now what? I whispered. Turn off the car, but do not look back, the operator said. I did as they said. The car went silent. The air inside felt thick, heavy. For a few long seconds, nothing happened. Then, the weight lifted. Like whatever had been in the back seat was suddenly gone. I sucked in a breath and finally turned around. She was gone. The back seat was empty. I let out a shaky exhale, gripping the wheel. My pulse was still racing, my body cold with sweat. Sir? The operator asked. She's gone, I whispered. A pause, then quietly. You did the right thing. I sat there for a long time, heart still pounding. The parking lot was quiet. The night air felt too still. I finally forced myself to move, stepping out of the car. I walked toward the gas station entrance, needing to be around people to feel normal again. But just before I reached the door, something made me stop. A feeling. I turned, looking back at my car, and froze. There, in the reflection of the back window, was her standing outside the car, smiling. I bolted inside the gas station, locking the door behind me. The cashier gave me a weird look, but I didn't care. I wasn't going back out there. I waited until sunrise. When I finally walked back to my car, she was gone. But as I got in and gripped the wheel, one thought echoed in my mind. What if she comes back? I never really minded delivering pizzas at night. Sure, it wasn't my dream job, but it paid the bills and I liked the quiet of the late shifts. Most of the time it was just driving around, listening to music, and handing people their food. Easy money. That night I was about to clock out when an order came in. Large pepperoni, cash payment. The address was 302 Oak Ridge Lane. I sighed. It was a little out of the way, but not far enough to refuse it. Sal, my manager, handed me the slip. Last one of the night, Jason, make it quick. I punched the address into my GPS and headed out. Oak Ridge Lane was a quiet neighborhood. Mostly older houses, no businesses or apartments. When I pulled up to 302, I immediately noticed something was off. The house looked abandoned. The lawn was overgrown. The porch light flickered weakly and there were no lights on inside. No car in the driveway. No sign that anyone lived there. I double-checked the address. 302 Oak Ridge Lane. I hesitated, then knocked. Once. Twice. 3 times. Silence. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown. Number. Leave it on the chair. I glanced around. There was an old wooden chair on the porch. Weird, but fine. I set the pizza down. Just as I turned to leave, my phone buzzed again. Unknown. Number. Knock again. A chill ran through me. Still, I knocked. A sound came from inside. Slow, dragging noise like something heavy being pulled across the floor. Then, the porch light went out. I turned, rushed back to my car, and jumped in, locking the doors. My phone buzzed one more time. Unknown. Number. Why are you leaving? I didn't look back. I just drove. By the time I pulled into the parking lot of the pizzeria, my hands were still shaking. I walked inside, tossing my keys onto the counter. Sal gave me a look. You good? I hesitated, then said, something weird just happened. I explained the abandoned house, the texts, the sound inside. Sal frowned and pulled up our order system. 302 Oak Ridge? He muttered, scrolling. Then he shook his head. There's no order from that address. I leaned over the counter. What? I just went there. Sal turned the screen toward me. No record of the order. No 302 Oak Ridge Lane anywhere in the system. I pulled out my phone to show him the messages, but they were gone. Every single text. Deleted. Sal stared at me for a second, then chuckled nervously. Maybe you went to the wrong house, man. I knew what I saw. I knew what I heard. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about the dragging sound, the way the porch light went out. Then at 2:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Took you long enough to come back. I hadn't gone back, but something, or someone, thought I had. The next day, I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe I had just imagined things, but I needed to know. So after work, I drove back to Oak Ridge Lane. The street was as quiet as before, lined with normal houses, but when I reached 302, I slammed on the brakes. The house was gone. Not abandoned, not empty, just gone. The lot was completely vacant. Overgrown grass, weeds, no foundation, no driveway. Like there had never been a house there at all. I got out, heart pounding. I walked to where the porch should have been. The chair, the one I left the pizza on. Gone. Then, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I see you. I spun around, scanning the street. Nothing. Another buzz. Unknown number. Come closer. I turned and ran to my car, speeding away. In my rearview mirror, I saw something standing in the empty lot, watching. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Even back home, I felt watched. I locked every door, every window, but the paranoia wouldn't go away. For hours, my phone stayed silent. I almost convinced myself it was over. Then, at 2:12 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You forgot something. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Another buzz. Unknown number. Check your front door. My stomach dropped. Slowly, I got up and walked to my apartment door. With shaking hands, I unlocked it. I opened the door, and sitting neatly on my doormat was a pizza box. Inside was a $20 bill. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I tipped. Well, say thank you. I slammed the door shut. Somehow the pizza I delivered had followed me home. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I went straight to work. I pulled Sal aside and told him everything. The disappearing house, the text, the pizza box on my doorstep. Sal's face went pale. You said 302 Oak Ridge Lane? I nodded. He swallowed hard. You're not the first driver to talk about that place. My blood ran cold. Couple years back, a guy, Chris, delivered there. Said the house wasn't there when he went back the next day. Said it followed him home. I felt my hands go numb. What happened to him? Sal hesitated. He disappeared too. Weeks later, my phone buzzed. A single text. Unknown number. Don't ignore me. I stood up, my hands ice cold. I had one choice. Leave town or become the next one to disappear.